To you women after 60, 5 things you should never do for men. The issue. Welcome back to my channel. It's David again. In today's video, I want to share 5 things you should never do for a man, not as rules or strategies, but as quiet truths I've come to understand after a lifetime of loving loss and observing relationships. This video is not about blaming men or teaching you how to control a relationship. It's about self-respect, emotional balance, and a kind of love that doesn't require you to disappear in order to be chosen. And I'm certain that the third thing I'll share in this video will make you look at your past relationships in a very different way. Before we begin, if you'd like to hear more reflections on love, life, and relationships from the perspective of someone past 60, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together in the videos ahead. And now, let's begin with the first thing. Something many women have done for love, but ended up paying for with pieces of themselves. The issue. Never give up your personal boundaries. At this stage of life, I've come to understand that boundaries are not about being rigid, nor are they a way to test someone. Boundaries are the quiet measure of self-respect, the place where a person tells herself, "This is what I can give, and this is what I will not trade away." In love, especially in mature love, boundaries don't push people away, they simply reveal who is truly able to stay. I've met many women who crossed their own boundaries, not because they didn't know what they wanted, but because they were afraid of losing a man. They agreed to move faster than their own rhythm, stayed silent about what made them uncomfortable, and convinced themselves that everything will be fine. But it rarely is. When a man does not respect your emotional or sexual boundaries, it's not a sign that you need to be more accommodating. It's a sign that he is not aligned with the kind of love you are seeking. There is a sentence I have always remembered. The right person will never ask you to abandon yourself. The issue. It sounds simple, but it took me many years of observing and many endings to truly understand it. The right man will never force you to choose between love and self-respect. He understands that boundaries don't weaken love. They make it safer. Holding your boundaries may cause you to lose the wrong person, but in return you keep yourself. And that is something no relationship is worth sacrificing. Love doesn't begin with enduring more. It begins with having the courage to respect yourself. And when boundaries are blurred, a more subtle trap slowly appears. The moment when a woman doesn't just lose her boundaries, but gradually loses her entire world as well. Don't make him your entire world. There is a moment in love that is easy to overlook. The moment when a woman begins to live less for herself, while telling herself it's because she loves. At first, it's just postponing a meeting with friends, then slowly letting go of the things that once made her feel like herself. And eventually her days start revolving around waiting for messages, waiting for calls, waiting for a man's moods. I've witnessed this many times, and the outcome is almost always the same. The man doesn't feel more loved, he feels placed at the center, and that, contrary to what many believe, doesn't create closeness. When a man becomes your entire world, he is no longer loved as a person, he is carried as a role. The issue is not that you love too much, the issue is that you trade your life to keep a relationship. And when a man sees that you no longer have a world of your own, no rhythm of your own, he no longer sees the independent woman who once attracted him. Attraction doesn't disappear in loud moments, it disappears in quiet, gradual self-dissolution. A mature relationship doesn't require 2 people to cling to each other. It requires 2 people who can stand firmly side by side. When one person begins to live for the other, the relationship doesn't deepen. It weakens. And if you've ever wondered why the more you try, the greater the distance becomes, then the third point coming up next is something I'm certain you won't be able to ignore, especially if you've ever felt confused by a man's silence. Don't chase him when he pulls away. There are moments in love that feel the most confusing, when a man begins to go quiet. Messages slow down, calls become less frequent. There's no clear explanation, just a silence that appears between two people. And within that silence, many women begin to ask themselves what they did wrong. The instinctive reaction is often to try to fill the gap, sending more messages, explaining more, pouring out emotions in the hope that he will come back. But the truth is the opposite. When you chase a man who is pulling away, you don't draw him closer. You make the silence last longer. Not because you aren't enough, but because you've lost your calm position within the relationship. At this stage of life, I've learned that a woman's strength isn't found in reacting quickly or saying more. It's found in her ability to stand still in her own value, to observe actions rather than cling to words. The issue: a man's true character doesn't show when he is being sweet, but in how he faces silence and pressure. When no one is pushing him to choose, have you ever found yourself in moments of silence like this? If so, feel free to share your story in the comments. Perhaps your experience might help someone else who is going through a similar situation feel less alone. And when you are calm enough not to chase anymore, a deeper question begins to surface. Are you loving the man in front of you? Or are you trying to fix him while waiting for a different version of who he might become? That is exactly the fourth thing we'll be talking about next. Don't try to fix or upgrade him. There is a very common mistake in love, especially among women who are emotionally deep and sensitive, loving a man not for who he is, but for who they believe he could become. They see potential, then patiently wait, guide, remind, and even sacrifice, hoping that one day the man will change. But after many years of observation, I've come to realize a truth that isn't easy to accept. When a woman steps into the role of fixing, she is no longer a lover. She becomes a guide, and from that moment on, romantic desire begins to fade. Because no man truly longs for someone who makes him feel pressured to become a different version of himself. The problem isn't that you want the person you love to be better. The problem is that you've taken responsibility for his growth in love. You cannot be a partner, a mother, and a coach at the same time. Attraction cannot survive where there is control. Even when that control is wrapped in care, a healthy relationship isn't built on waiting for a future that hasn't arrived. It's built on two mature individuals, each responsible for their own life, inspiring one another simply by how they live. So if you're not meant to fix him or wait for a different version of who he might become, how much are you giving in this relationship? And is it truly being reciprocated? That brings us to the final point. Don't invest too much in someone who isn't ready to walk toward you. Don't overinvest in an ambiguous relationship. There is a persistent misunderstanding in love, especially among women who are sincere and devoted, that giving more will make a relationship feel safer. They believe that if they are more patient, more self-sacrificing, more attentive, love will stay. But through the years I've lived and observed, I've come to realize the opposite is true when you invest too much. Your time, emotions, effort, even finances, while the other person has not responded with the same level of commitment, the relationship begins to lose its balance. It creates pressure. The one who gives becomes increasingly exhausted. The one who receives becomes increasingly comfortable, not trying. Eventually, sacrifice turns into disappointment, and disappointment turns into resentment. Love is not sustained by one person carrying the entire relationship on their shoulders. A man needs space to initiate, to choose, to lead, and to contribute. When you give everything, you unintentionally take that opportunity away from him, and you also take away your own self-respect. At this stage of life, I've learned that giving at the right moment matters more than giving excessively. A healthy relationship doesn't drain you. It allows you to feel whole and at peace within it. And when you look back at all 5 of these points together, one truth becomes very clear. Love does not require you to lose yourself in order to be chosen. After walking together through 5 things a woman should never do for a man, I don't expect you to remember each point as a list. What matters more is the feeling that remains with you right now. The feeling of someone who has paused, looked back at what she has given in love, and asked herself what she has received in return. Through many years of living and observing, I've come to understand that most pain in relationships doesn't come from loving too little but from loving in a way that forgets oneself. We soften small boundaries, shrink our personal worlds, chase silence, try to fix what isn't ours to fix, and give more than we can give while still holding on to peace. And we call that love, until one day we realize how tired we've become. Love, especially in the later stages of life, doesn't need to be intense to prove anything. It needs steadiness. Two people standing side by side with no one disappearing so the other can stay. Always remember this. The right kind of love will never ask you to trade yourself away. If you found these reflections helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So conversations about love and life in the second half of our journey can reach those who may need to hear them. And I'm David. Thanks for watching my video till now, and see you next time. After walking together through 5 things a woman should never do for a man, I don't expect you to remember each point as a list. What matters more is the feeling that remains with you right now. The feeling of someone who has paused, looked back at what she has given in love, and asked herself what she has received in return. Through many years of living and observing, I've come to understand that most pain in relationships doesn't come from loving too little but from loving in a way that forgets oneself. We soften small boundaries, shrink our personal worlds, chase silence, try to fix what isn't ours to fix, and give more than we can give while still holding on to peace. And we call that love, until one day we realize how tired we've become. Love, especially in the later stages of life, doesn't need to be intense to prove anything. It needs steadiness. Two people standing side by side with no one disappearing so the other can stay. Always remember this. The right kind of love will never ask you to trade yourself away. If you found these reflections helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So conversations about love and life in the second half of our journey can reach those who may need to hear them. And I'm David. Thanks for watching my video till now, and see you next time.